Hello Year 3 and welcome to today's writing video. This week in writing we are going to continue with our narrative inspired by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Today we are writing plot point number 4. Last week we wrote about a delicious treat but no golden ticket, and then finding a golden ticket. So our last plot point ended with Charlie finding the golden ticket, and we wrote some descriptive language to describe that golden, shining, glistening ticket. Now today is about sprinting home. So to begin with, we are going to collect a bank of adverbs to show urgency, because Charlie's found this ticket and all of a sudden a crowd is going to gather around him. A large amount of people are going to gather. So we're going to write adverbs to show urgency to start off our writing. Now, I just gave you suddenly. You could also have in the blink of an eye. Now it is your turn. Pause the video. What other adverbs can you think of to show urgency? Something that happens all of a sudden. Off you go. Well done. Let's have a look at what I've got. So I have got soon. If you've got these, you could be ticking them off. If you haven't, you could be adding them to your list. Seconds later and immediately. So our sentence is going to start with one of these adverbs to show that something happens quickly, all of a sudden, urgently. Okay, let's have a look at these here. Now on the screen here, I have got pictures of lots of people, lots and lots of people. Because when Charlie finds this ticket, a huge group of people gather around him. They notice and they come round him very quickly. So we want to think of words to describe a large group of people, a crowd of people. And here are a few ideas, a few pictures to inspire you. Now my crowd we could describe as a crowd, or we could also describe them as a herd, or a mass of people, or a rabble of people. What else could we use? Pause the video and have a little think. What word could you use to describe this crowd of people who gather around Charlie? Off you go. Wonderful. Okay, let's see what we've got. If you've got some I haven't, brilliant. If you haven't got ones I've got, add them on. If you've got them, give them a tick. So we could also have a school of people, a horde of people, an army of people, a flock of people, a pack of people, or a mob of people, or a troop of people. Lots of different words to describe a crowd or a large amount of people all gathered together. So we are now going to use our adverb and a word to describe the crowd and them gathering around Charlie. I'm going to go with seconds later, but you can choose whichever you want. Now I've remembered to start my sentence with my capital letter. Seconds later, a crowd, I'm going to go for a crowd, but you could go for a herd of people. You could go for a mass of people. You could go for an army of people. Seconds later, a crowd had gathered. And there is my sentence. So now it is your turn. Choose your adverb, choose your word to describe the crowd. And once you have written your first sentence, can you deepen the moment? What is Charlie thinking? How does he feel? Pause the video and write your first sentence. Off you go. Well done, Year 3. Okay, let's have a look at our next sentence. So I have taken a few screen grabs from the film, and here he is. This is Charlie, and in his hand he's got his golden ticket. And this is the mass of people, the crowd, the throng, the herd, the flock, whatever word you chose to describe, and they are gathering. And all of a sudden they are all the way round Charlie. So at this point, I'd like you to think about, what are these people saying? What might they be saying? They might be shouting it out. They probably are quite excited. They've got their mouths open in that excited manner, in that shocked, amazed manner. So pause the video. What could these people be saying? Off you go. Okay, let's have a little look. So they could be shouting, "You lucky boy." They could be shouting, "I don't believe it. Let's see it. He's got a golden ticket." So there's lots of different ideas of what these people could be saying. And for our next sentence, we're going to put some of these ideas into inverted commas to write some speech. So I've got a few ideas here. I'm sure you've got other ones, and I'm really looking forward to seeing lots of different sentences for our speech sentence. Lots of different ideas of what those people might be saying. Now, before we write our sentence and we think about where our speech marks go, we're going to think about how we're going to finish our sentence. We're not going to use the word said. Now, last week, we thought about dialogue and we thought about the shopkeeper. And when he spoke, he was being kind and giving advice and suggesting something and making a comment because he was trying to say, "Charlie, slow down, you're eating that chocolate far too fast." But today, our crowd is excited. They are amazed. They are surprised. So they're probably not going to be whispering. They're probably going to be quite loud because it's going to be such a shock that it all comes out in a big rush. So I'm going to give you the word shouted. But now it's your turn. How else might this crowd say what they are saying to Charlie? Pause the video and have a think. Off you go. Okay, so I gave you shouted. We could also have wailed. We could have hollered. We could have bawled. We could have cried. We could have exclaimed. Okay, there are my ideas. If you need to add to yours, do that now. Okay, in this sentence, I'm going to write what 3 different people say. So I'm going to write 3 pieces of speech and what they say. I'm going to start with, "You lucky boy, someone shouted." You lucky boy, someone shouted. So you lucky boy is my speech. So I'm going to start with my speech marks, capital letter. You lucky boy. And that's what they say. So I'm going to end my speech marks. You lucky boy, someone shouted. Okay, then my next person's going to say, "I don't believe it." Another voice screamed. So they say, "I don't believe it." So my speech marks need to go around, "I don't believe it." I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Another voice screamed. So we've got one person saying, "You lucky boy," and we've got another person saying, "I don't believe it." Oh, Miss Gregory, that's not how you spell voice. Okay, now my final person's going to say, "Let's see it." They exclaimed. Let's see it. That's what they say. So I'm going to start with my speech marks. Let's see it. They exclaimed. So I have got 3 sentences of speech. So you need to decide which 3 pieces of dialogue you would like to use for yours. And you're going to make sure you've got your dialogue written down on your thinking side. That will then really clearly tell you where your speech marks go. You need a speech mark at the beginning of the speech, a speech mark at the end of the speech, and then you need to use one of your alternatives here to tell me how they are saying it. 3 sentences of speech. This crowd is excited and one person speaks, then another, then another. They all start to talk over one another in that excited way. So, your turn. 3 sentences of speech, alternatives for said. There is a deepen the moment for when you are ready. Pause the video to write your sentences. Off you go. Okay, our final sentence. Now, Charlie has found his golden ticket and he has been surrounded by this crowd of people who have started speaking, and he's probably feeling excited but a bit panicked. He's got a lot of people around him. All of a sudden, they're all talking all at once. So he's now going to run home. He's going to sprint home. He's going to race home. He's going to fly home. He's going to zoom home. So to begin with, we're going to write ing verbs for running. I've just given you quite a few verbs. I gave you zoom, so I can write zooming. I'm going to give you some more. I'm not going to write them down. See if you can remember them. So you could have racing. You could have flying. You could have whizzing. Now I've given you 4 there. Zooming, racing, flying, and whizzing. I would like you to write down 6 ing verbs for running. So you've got my 4, you need to have 2 of your own. In your 3rd thinking box, off you go. Okay, let's write down the ones I gave you. Hopefully you now have 6. You could have also had charging, tearing, flying, whizzing, and you've probably got some more of your own as well. So in our final sentence, we are going to start with our ing verb. So you need to choose which one you would like to start with. I am going to start with tearing. Tearing through the crowd, Charlie raced home to tell his family. Tearing through the crowd. And here, if you don't want to use the word crowd, you could use a different word. You could have a look back at your your first thinking box to find out another word for crowd. Tearing through the crowd, Charlie raced home. So I've now used racing and put ed on the end. So you could do tearing through the crowd, Charlie flew home. Charlie whizzed home to tell his family. So our final sentence has Charlie sprinting. Oh, I didn't have that one, but you could have that one. Sprinting through the crowd, running home to tell his family about what he's found. So this is the final point now to finish the video. So you're going to stop it here, write your final sentence, and can you deepen the moment as he's running through the crowd, through the streets? How does he feel? I imagine his heart's pounding and he cannot wait until he gets home. I'm really looking forward to seeing these, and so is Miss Daly. So make sure you remember to send them over, and we will be back for some more writing tomorrow. See you soon.